Our final album is Antidepressants by Suede.
I want to be dancing with the Europeans. Sing it! Dancing with the Europeans.
And this was your pick, Karl.
It was indeed, yeah. So I mean, went with Suede this month. A band I've really gotten into since their comeback record, Bloodsports, which is crazily, when I looked at it, over a decade ago now, which doesn't feel like it was over a decade ago. But yeah, really have been on this ever since that record, just been on this hot streak of releases in that time. Night Thoughts, which came after Bloodsports, just this wonderfully cinematic visual album, which is probably still my favorite of theirs of this kind of recent run. Although Autofiction from a couple of years back runs it close as well. That's another record, filled with later career highlights from Suede. And yeah, I think Antidepressants just about continues that streak. I think compared to some of the other albums in this, certainly in the second run, it maybe feels maybe slightly less ambitious and creative. It sounds more like a follow-on from Autofiction, I would say, in the same way that when they released the Blue Hour, that almost felt like a follow-on from Night Thoughts. It's carrying the same aesthetic, with the black and white covers and the sonic DNA to the songs as well. So yeah, naturally I'm going to compare it to that record, and I think for me it doesn't quite hit the level of Autofiction, or at least it hasn't yet, with the amount I've spun it. But that all that said, I mean, there's still some great tracks here. I imagine really come across as well in the live set that I'm sure you'll touch on as well, Andrew. But Disintegrate comes storming out the gates, just got that classic Suede sound going on. Brett Anderson's wonderful cooing on Dancing with the Europeans. Yeah, just an absolute anthem. Then you got the title track arrives and yeah, has a bit more of a punk edge about it. The Sound of Summer. Then you get those with like wonderful atmospheric guitars that really like fill your headphones. And then my favorite section is probably the final three tracks, Trance State, June Rain, and Life is Endless, Life is a Moment. Those three tracks, I think, just capture everything I love about Suede's music. Really brooding in parts, really dramatic in parts. Brett's voice again just sounding immaculate amidst like the swirl of guitars. Yeah, just a really great finale to the record. And yeah, I'd say those are the high points. There are a few moments that feel like filler or just more of the same. The ones I've kind of pulled out here is Sweet Kid, Broken Music for Broken People. Um, yeah, I think the clue is in the name there. Maybe a bit like Biffy Clyro. Feels a bit like a cliche at times. Comes across that way. And Criminal Ways as well, I think, was another one that didn't quite grab me. But I think it's one of those that kind of starts strong, levels out in the middle, and then brings it back at the end once they, once they mix things up again. So yeah, overall, I think it's solid enough. Maybe not one of their strongest in this second run, and there's definitely some good additions to the live set on there. And yeah, I'm not a misfire by any means. But yeah, it's probably an album I'd say I'm gonna dip into rather than play front to back. But yeah, a good addition to their discography, but maybe not for me a great one, I would say.
Okay, so then Kylie, what did you make of Antidepressants? You a Suede fan going into this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing that I remember listening to the first couple of records when I was, getting into the British scene back in the mid to late '90s and really enjoying them. And for some reason, I've always confused them with Pulp, even though I know the
Easily done.
difference. Yeah, um, and loved those first couple of records, and then I'm ashamed to say that I have not listened to any of the the Comeback Records, and it was funny when I was going to pull up this record. I had no idea in the meantime that in the US they're called the London Suede, which is yeah. And so I finally ended up searching for antidepressants, and there was the London Suede. So it's just yeah, it's like a trademark thing.
Yeah.
There's a I'm not even familiar with the US band Suede. It's funny when that happens. Um, but yeah, so without having the reference to the Comeback Records, I absolutely loved this album, and it was my, great surprise of the month. For me, I do agree that broken music for broken people doesn't quite work out so well, but as close to no skips as that we're gonna get on an album this month. Uh, and yeah, just same notes like Brett Anderson, his vocals just completely blow me away on this record that he's still just belting like that. And kind of in that post-punk atmosphere, it reminded me a lot of that last Cure, comeback record that we reviewed, and just kind of getting into that vibe and staying there, really enjoying it. Uh Carl, I'm exactly as you too, though, with Trance State, June Rain, and Life is Endless, Life is a Moment. I think that's the closing of this record is the best part on a very good record. And the note that I had on Life is Endless, Life is a Moment, I know it's like a dirty word, but it reminded me a lot of very old U2, like October, before they, you know, popped everything out back when they were just more low gritty post-punk, and just hadn't thought of that record in a long time, so that's what made me think of. But yeah, I was very, very happy with this, enjoyed it.
So yeah, two thumbs up, third thumb up from me as well. Yeah, I've been enjoying kind of the press they've been doing around this as well. So, it's definitely linked to autofiction, as you say,
Mm.
kind of from the look of the two albums. And Brett was saying that was autofiction was their punk album, and this is their post-punk album. So with antidepressants, and Kylie, you're referencing post-punk kind of vibe with this. So they're doing what they're saying on that front. And the other point, although again from what you were saying, Kylie, it kind of reminds me of someone who's also doing this, but they were saying, look, we're the only ones from that era. Everyone else is going back to their old tracks. We're still being relevant. Well, Pulp this year have brought out an album which is for me fantastic. Yeah, they're not the only ones, but certainly one of the most prominent who is still going and still being relevant since they've came back, as you say, 10 years ago, Karl. So yeah, I was
I'm
really
sure Damon might have a word as well. Like he's still, although he's not doing it with Blair, he's
well. Oh yeah, I mean,
still,
yeah,
yeah.
as I think, because I think if we were to look back at the life of what was it, Life of Darren,
Mm.
we weren't blown away by it, but certain
Time to
parts
listen to it since.
were. So
I
yeah,
forgot you existed.
Yeah.
there were moments.
Meanwhile, you're looking forward to the new Gorillaz record.
Yeah.
I quite like the last one. Anyway, so yeah, I think they kind of bang on. Like it might be seen as quite arrogant, to sort of say we're still relevant, whereas our peers are just sort of resting on the laurels of what they did 30 years ago. But it's apt, and yeah, I to my shame have not done the other comeback records from apart from Autofiction, which I absolutely loved 3 years ago. Um, but yeah, I kind of going into it, I was unsure whether it would meet that standard. Disintegrate initially didn't wow me. Trance State similarly, whereas Dancing with the Europeans is I just loved from minute one, and one of my tracks of the year. Just think it's absolutely fantastic. Well, and those two other singles I've mentioned have just really grown on me a hell of a lot, and it's so solid. So this is an album which has surpassed those expectations of which I had for it, which I thought it might be lower than sort of Autofiction. I think it's at least very close because I really rate that one. I'd probably say the first four, you talk about the last three tracks, which I think are great. But the first four are the ones which is the run I enjoy the most in this album. Disintegrate just comes in, really big, setting their stall out. Desolation as an art, hesitation as a creed. I mean, Carly, you mentioned Songs for a Lost World and sort of so sinking into a bit of a Cure goth imagery in a lot of the lyrics they bring here. Dancing with the Europeans is just such an anthem. Slightly, even though I absolutely love it, it's almost slightly corny in its embrace of pro-European sentiment, but it's almost like taboo, at least in the UK, to hear someone saying such things, and like it's nice, at least to me, to hear that there's some sanity and yeah, that not everything is headed one way to this post-Brexit UK which we live in. Antidepressants, yeah, just keeps that real gritty energy going, at least from what Disintegrate brings at the start of the album. And then Sweet Kid I really enjoy. He mentioned at the gig it was for his son who decided that he didn't actually attend. He did a song for his wife, very lovely, heartfelt, and then he was like, and the next track is for my son who's decided not to attend tonight. He didn't say he wasn't like, it wasn't a barb, but it was just quite funny. But I don't know if that made that song resonate more with me on the album than it might have done without like seeing it live and kind of really getting that connection, which is you don't have to look too far to get that connection, by the way, of course, but with lyrics, and if my body belongs to the worms, oh well, my blood still belongs in your veins. I mean, my word, they are, he is someone who just puts absolutely everything into his art, and is still doing it, is still passionate, and is supported by very strong band. And I do find I've got a lot of love for the Britpop era, and the hits from Suede for me are always probably the top out of a very, very strong bunch of songs from various artists. And it's just so good to see them 30 odd years on, just producing relevant, hard hitting music, albeit a different flavor, and sort of it echoes where they are in their lives, and probably meets more my older mind, I suppose. In that sense, it feels like generationally like apt, and Six Music Dad vibes. But this is a band I love, and yeah, just really pleased that they're still making music like this, which blows some of the younger generation out of the water. So there we go.